All right, so we talk a lot about AI thinking, right? But what if I told you that up until now, even our most powerful AIs have been thinking with one hand tied behind their back? Today, we're going to dig into something called Tree of Thoughts. It's a new framework that's basically teaching AI how to solve problems in a way that looks a lot more like how we think.
But before we get into the tech, let's talk about you. Just for a second, think about the last time you had a really tough problem to solve. A puzzle, a big decision at work, whatever. You didn't just barrel ahead with the first idea that popped into your head, did you? Nah. You probably stopped, you thought about a few different angles, and if one path wasn't working, you backed up and tried something else.
Well, it turns out there's a name for that. Psychologists call it the dual process model. We've all got two systems for thinking. System one is that fast, automatic, gut reaction. It's how you just know 2 + 2 is 4 without thinking. But system two, that's the slow, deliberate, conscious effort. That's the part of your brain that kicks in when you're doing your taxes or trying to figure out a really tricky problem.
Okay, so why does this all matter for AI? Well, here's the crazy part. Our most advanced large language models, the ones we use every day, they've been operating almost entirely with just one of those systems, and it's probably not the one you'd want for solving complex problems.
Yep. Models like GPT-4 are basically all system one. They're just blurting out the next word, then the next in a super fast, straight line. It's like a stream of consciousness. They make a choice on what word comes next, and they just stick with it. There are no second thoughts.
And you can see how this is a huge issue. It's like driving down a road where you're not allowed to make U-turns. If the AI makes one wrong turn early on, that's it. It's stuck. It can't explore a different idea. It has no foresight. This is exactly why these super powerful models can get totally stumped by problems that need a bit of trial and error.
So, if AI is stuck in this fast, intuitive system one, the big question is, how do we give it a system two? How can we possibly teach it to slow down and think things through? And this is where things get really exciting. Enter the Tree of Thoughts, or TOT for short. This framework completely changes the game. Instead of just charging down one single path, it lets the AI explore multiple paths, multiple ideas, all at the same time. It can come up with a few options, actually judge how good each option is, and then, get this, it can decide to scrap a bad idea and go back to try something else. The easiest way to wrap your head around this is to compare it to the old method, called chain of thought. And it was exactly what it sounds like, a single chain of logic, one link after another. If you break one link, the whole thing is useless. Tree of Thoughts isn't a chain, it's a tree, with all these different branches of possibilities it can explore.
And you know what's wild? This isn't some brand new idea somebody cooked up last week. This goes all the way back to 1959. Some of the original pioneers of AI described real problem solving as a search through a tree of possibilities. So Tree of Thoughts is basically taking this classic, brilliant concept and finally giving it the horsepower of today's massive AI models.
Okay, so we know what it is. It lets AI explore and backtrack. But how does it actually work? Let's get into the nuts and bolts.
It's really a four-step dance. First, it decomposes the problem, just breaks the big, scary thing down into bite-sized chunks. Then, it generates a few different ideas for how to solve the first chunk. These are the first branches on our thought tree. And here's the magic part. Step 3, it evaluates. The AI literally looks at its own ideas and asks, okay, is this any good? Is this leading me in the right direction? Finally, step 4, it searches. It intelligently picks the most promising branches to explore further and, this is the crucial bit, it can climb back down the tree if it hits a dead end.
Now that all sounds fantastic in theory, but the real question is, does it actually work in the real world? Well, the researchers decided to find out by throwing some problems at it that were specifically designed to trip up normal AI. They used a classic little math puzzle called the Game of 24. Maybe you've played it. The rules are super simple. You get 4 numbers and you have to use addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division to make them equal 24. It seems easy, but it's actually a perfect trap for linear thinking because you have to try a bunch of things, fail, and backtrack a lot.
So they took a standard GPT-4 using that old chain of thought method and gave it this game. The result? It could only solve it 4% of the time. I mean, that's terrible. It would just try one sequence, make one tiny mistake, and be completely stuck.
But what happens when you give that exact same model the ability to use Tree of Thoughts? It jumps all the way to 74%. Let that sink in for a second. From 4% to 74%. That's not just a little bit better. That's a whole different reality.
It's the difference between random guessing and actually being a problem solver.
And this chart just says it all. See that tiny little sliver on the left? That's the old way. That middle bar, that's if you let the old AI try 100 times and just pick the best answer. It doesn't even come close to what Tree of Thoughts can do in one smart, deliberate attempt. It's all about working smarter, not harder. And you might be thinking, okay, cool, it's good at a numbers game, but this isn't just a math trick. It works across the board. For creative writing, it would brainstorm a few different plot ideas before it started writing, and the stories made way more sense. For things like mini crosswords, it could try a word, see that it wasn't going to work, and then backtrack to try another, something that was basically impossible before.
So let's zoom out. What's the really big takeaway here? This goes so far beyond making AI better at games and puzzles. This is a sneak peek at a fundamental shift in how AI is going to solve problems, period. Remember where we started with System 1 and System 2 thinking? Well, this is it. Tree of Thoughts is, for all intents and purposes, giving AI its own System 2. It's the "hang on, let me think about this" button that AI has been missing this whole time.
And the potential this unlocks is just enormous. We're talking about AI that can help with complex, real-world planning. Imagine an AI that could help scientists explore different hypotheses to find a new medicine, or one that could help engineers design a complex machine by weighing all the pros and cons of different approaches.
So here's the bottom line. For years, AI has been an absolutely incredible gut reaction machine, a System 1 powerhouse. But now, it's learning how to actually reason. And that leaves us with one pretty mind-blowing question. If an AI can truly plan, explore, and correct its own mistakes, what are the problems we always thought were impossible that are suddenly about to become possible?